If I was to ask you if you knew who Eli was in the Bible, I think you would probably say, yeah, I know who Eli is in the Bible. And if I were to say a follow-up question of, do you think he was a good person or a bad person? I think you would probably say he's a good person. And so if I had to have a third follow-up question is so since he's a good person, is he a good example for us to follow? And I think that you would probably say yes to that as well. I know I would say yes to all three of those questions, at least before I read this story of him in 1 Samuel for the I don't know how manyth time. And I think that's where a big problem with myself, and I have to imagine many others can relate to this struggle as well. That we are told, oh, this is a good person in the Bible. And so we neglect all the bad things that person did. And when it comes time to really study the Bible, study that story, that character, that person in depth, we go, wait a minute, why do we think this is a good person? Like, yeah, I can, and depending on the person, like, oh, I can see why we think he's a good person, or she, but man, they also did a lot of bad things. I don't understand why we just praise this person. And then you might get to the next step of, why did God even use this person? And that is something that I am starting to learn as I read the Bible slowly for myself this time through. I've read the Bible through before, and I think that when I read it at a quicker pace, I read my own understanding of these people and never really read what the text was trying to tell me. Now, that can be difficult because the text is not written for a 2021 culture, a Western culture, a modern culture of us. It was written in a way different culture for a different culture. So the way in which they are going to tell information and tell a story about what is happening is going to be pretty different to really different at times. And so we're going to need assistance with that, or to at least read it slowly and analyze it as we go. And I've always also found, especially lately, that having a conversation with somebody about what you have read and seeing their perspective, and then asking questions, asking silly questions, trying to be the devil's advocate about stuff, really having fun with it, like you learn more and you think critically about the text and you go, wait a minute, I don't know. Like, I didn't even think about that. That's a weird question. Let's dive into that. And I've learned that fun little strategy through studying with my wife and the way our Sunday school goes through a book of the Bible. I'm going to skip over the proof as to why Eli really wasn't that good of a person. He's kind of trash, but not really, but kind of in this video. Because the bigger point that I'm trying to make here is that we as a culture right now have such a huge misunderstanding of heroes, of good people, of leaders. We think that they have to be perfect. Especially in Christian culture, we're just like, hey, if they're not great, they're garbage. And then there's that flip side where we don't hold anybody accountable for anything. And we're just like, well, they're doing what I want them to do, so I'm going to excuse all their bad behavior. It's this really weird paradigm. I don't get it. And I think that could really go into a whole nother thought for another time. But to address one specific part is that a lot of times we just see somebody mess up and go, I don't see how God's using them. Or when you see a good pastor fall into a certain type of sin, maybe adultery or something like that, and you just wonder, was any of their ministry ever good? And it's just like, well, yeah, God could have been using them before that, or they turned to heresy. And you just wonder, well, let's just throw everything out they ever did. And it's like, no, like God used people like that in the Bible. So we don't throw away everything that they did. And when you wonder why God chose to use them in the first place, because now we're like, well, look how far they're leading their whole followers away. Man, I ain't got a full answer for that. And that's okay. I'm going to keep reading the Bible because I don't understand why God uses people all the time. And to be honest, I shouldn't have an answer as to why God uses me. You shouldn't really have an answer as to why God uses you. That's it. I don't know. That's my thought. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you in the next video.